Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the USA Volleyball Show. We are the official podcast of USA Volleyball. 91.
Episode 91.
Episode
approaching
91.
Approaching that triple digit.
We're 9 away from 100. And boy, do we have a special 100th episode for you guys. Is that right?
Yep.
I'm setting the tone. We strategically plan a 100th episode.
A lot of pressure.
Might be some giveaways.
It might be.
Sorry, I'm just kidding.
Could be around the Olympics or Paralympics, so it could be fun.
Could be a parade. Who knows?
Yep. We haven't thought that far ahead, but we will have a great episode for that. I know we will. Maybe we'll have a new promo or something for around that time.
That'll be a good idea. Mm-hmm.
We'll see. How are you feeling traveling back from the East Coast?
I am a little rested. Got a lot of catching up to do for an event coming up at the end of May called Open National Championships. But staying on top of Baltimore in 18th. How was your first event back from your leave? You came back from leave. Now you went straight to an event too. So I know you're feeling it.
Yep, definitely feeling it. Definitely traveling out there that first night was rough.
You never get a good night's sleep.
I did not sleep well, but slept better throughout the trip, and then just a long flight, little rough landing back in Denver, but I made it here. Good. But it was good. It was fun though. It was fun to get back to events too. I haven't been to an event in quite a while, and love going to 18. It's a lot of great volleyball, just a great atmosphere too. A lot of those athletes, it's their last club tournament, so they're leaving it all out there, and definitely gets a little emotional there for the athletes and the parents too. Kind of ending their club season, their careers, I guess, with their kids, but. Definitely a lot of fun. I love 18s, and Baltimore was, I think, a great host city too. And, first time, I think, for any of our events to go to Baltimore as well. Is that right?
I think so. I'll have to double check that in our little archives. But I mean, that was, again, my first time in the city, first time either in Baltimore or a long time. But, wow, those crab cakes, man.
I know. I was going to say got a lot of crab, got a lot of seafood, fish. Yeah, definitely made the most of being on the coast there. And had our coworker, I guess former coworker now, Kelsey Dolphin, who lives in Baltimore now, and got some great recommendations from her.
Who's about to have another girl. Wow.
That's right. Yeah. Congratulations, Kelsey and her husband, Reggie, having another girl. That's fun. But 18s was great. Any records broken or any records broken or anything from the event side for hosting 18s, any fun details like that?
Not that I can recall off the top of my head. That's actually pretty cool to kind of look back on. We have to pull our reports and do all the attendance numbers and stuff afterwards there too. So possibly, but I'm still not 100% sure. I just know you and Bree killed it across the board, covered it for marketing and, digital and social media too. So it's always good and helpful to have, more than one person there so you guys can help each other out. And while we're all running around doing tournament things, that's also a big thing too. Just be able to look back and, see the coverage and creativity from you guys too. So that's always appreciated.
Yep. Shout out Bree for helping me out on the social front. That was awesome, especially on championship day. That's a crazy day running from court to court, capturing video. But another fun thing that happened at 18s for me was I ran into a couple of my college teammates, former college teammates. My college teammate and college roommate, Matt Morgan, he was coaching his Roots team there, based out of Austin. And they did pretty well, had a great tournament. And then my other friend, Kevin Farrell, actually lives a little outside of Baltimore, so he was able to drive up championship day and hang out for a little bit. So great to catch up with them. And we talk a little bit about it with Rob here in the episode, but just a small world that volleyball is, and great to reconnect and have a little reunion there with my college teammates.
That's good. Trying to think. I mean, outside of the actual tournament too, it's all a blur now. I mean, I know we just had it, but I'm like, wow.
Oh, and the prom, the 18.
Yes, 18 prom went really well. I was checking in teams, the majority of the portion of it there too, but I know you guys saw the majority of it. We got there and started acting crazy the last 10 minutes, which is funny, but I mean, it looked like the girls really had a good time. Shout out to the team that dressed up as the Blue Man Group. That was amazing.
Yeah. I didn't get what club they were from, but that was cool. They went all out for that. But yeah, that was fun, and got a lot of great feedback from both the athletes who attended that, and then some of the parents too. I had one parent, a dad, come up to championship desk the next day because the prom check-in sign was hanging out on one of the crates there near championship desk, and he was like, "What's the prom check-in?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, we hosted a little prom for the athletes who, you know, are missing prom back home." He was like, "Oh, that's so cool. I didn't know that was going on." I was like, "Yeah, we do it every year." And he was like, "Oh, good to know. So, but yeah, definitely a hit, and looked like they had a lot of fun there. A lot of good music too. Playing some throwbacks from our era too.
Wow. It was a good time for sure. Yeah. Prom went well. I mean, championship day went really well too. A lot of good matches, high level matches across the board, and just another successful national championship. Now we got to get rolling into the rest of them, and you know, stopping in your hometown. Well, your old stomping grounds. I mean, quite a bit in the middle of June, towards the end of June, and then
that's right.
Got the last hurrah in Vegas, and then heck, you're off to Paris after that.
That's right. Yeah, a lot of great volleyball ahead. But yeah, speaking of championship day, just wanted to give a little congratulations to all the gold medal winners. Medal winners at the 2024 Girls 18s Junior National Championships in Baltimore. Congratulations to Aspire 18 Black, the American Division champions. C1 VB 18-1 Heather, the Freedom Division champions. VVA 18-1 Liberty Division champions. AZ Sky 18 Gold, National Division champions. TAV 18 Black Open Division champions. And NEVA 18 Purple Patriot Division champions, and A5 18-2 USA Division champions. A lot of hardware handed out on championship day. A lot of great teams there. Congratulations to everyone who made the tournament, who got those bids, and yeah, hopefully everyone had a great time there.
I second everything you said there. So way to wrap that up. That was great.
There we go. And let's just keep things moving. Let's jump into now. It is time for news with Hughes.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, Pro Volleyball Federation's inaugural season is coming to a close. Matches are going on until May 12th. Okay. Then the 2024 Pro Volleyball Federation Championship will be held on May 15th and the 18th at the CHI Health Center in Omaha. What a venue. That's going to be rocking with fans, energy. I mean, I'm just reminiscing to our AVCA National Championship and Final Four experience there too. So I can only
probably no better place to have that. Yeah,
absolutely. There are still weekly matches streaming for free available on CBS Sports Network. Tune in to make sure you don't miss any of that action there. It's very exciting. And as a reminder, the 2024. What's up?
I was going to say, hopefully better weather too, because we were there in the middle of winter.
Yeah, I'll never forget that drive.
Yeah, I've been to Omaha in the summer. It's nice. So hopefully they have good weather there. And yeah, it was windy and cold when we were there.
Yeah, windy, cold, snowy. What a drive! All right. Back to news. As a reminder, 2024 Beach National Championship registrations are now open. Register for all of these events, and this one specifically on the beach side of things, as we go to hotter weather to summertime, for your chance to be the next national champion. Registration is also open for 2 more beach national team trials. Visit our website to sign up for a chance to represent the U.S. at either the Beach U19 World Championship or the Beach World University Championship. Tickets are available for the USA Volleyball Hall of Fame, taking place May 22nd in Columbus, Ohio. Make sure you join USA Volleyball as we celebrate all-time greats such as Kathy DeBoer, Carl McGowan, Dane Blanton, Robin Amo, and friend of the pod, Reed Free. Tickets are available on our website, usavolleyball.org. Exciting news here. The NCAA Men's Volleyball National Championship is going on right now through May 4th in the best city of all, LBC, Long Beach, California, at Walter Pyramid. You can watch all the action there on ESPN Live and in action. Good luck to all those teams competing, but also shout out to all of our NTDP athletes who made the All-American teams. First team, Mason Briggs, Ethan Champlin, Camden Gianni, Merrick McHenry, Andrew Rowan, Nicholas Slight, and Parker Van Buren. Shout out to that whole those gentlemen who made the first team All-Americans there. Second team mentions are Toby Ezioni, Aiden Knight, Jackson Hickman, Ryan Merck, friend of the pod, Jacob Pastor, Cole Power, and Will Rotman. We also have a few honorable mentions to shout out. First up, we have Clark Godbold, Dylan Klein, Nicodemus Meyer, Kyle Paulson, Owen Rose, Shred Rosenthal, and Shane Wetzel. Shout out to these gentlemen who received honorable mentions. The NCAA Beach Volleyball National Championship is May 3rd through the 5th in Gulf Shores. Make sure you watch on ESPN Networks for live action and see who will be the next national champion. Follow along the action on USA Volleyball social media. And for more on all of the latest news, visit usavolleyball.org. Gonna throw it right back to Steve Vine to introduce today's guest. And he's a good one. It was a great conversation we had too. So I'm gonna let you take it away from here.
Yeah, great job with the news. We got a lot going on right now in the volley world. Exciting time.
Don't tell them how many takes it took.
Exciting time to be a volleyball fan, for sure. But yeah, now on to today's show. We sit down with volleyball MC Rob Espero, aka Rob on the mic. Rob is an announcer for several USA Volleyball national team and beach events, as well as on the mic at AVP events, NCAA men's events, and is the host of the Viral Volley Podcast. Rob talks about his background in volleyball and beach volleyball. He talks about his experience announcing for NCAA, previews the men's volleyball national championship as well as the beach national championship too, and so much more in that conversation. Such a great chat that we have with Rob. So let's just jump right into it. Enough from us. Here is Rob on the mic. Rob, thank you so much for taking the time to sit down with us. We're really excited for this conversation. A really exciting time in volleyball, both on the men's indoor side and beach as well, at the collegiate ranks. But yeah, thank you so much again for taking the time to chat with us.
Totally an honor to be on board with all you guys. And I appreciate all you guys are doing to keep volleyball in the public eye, because we know that the coverage there's definitely lack of coverage. So I appreciate anyone who does any kind of press and media, digital content, and is able to get the incredible personalities that are in our game out there, because you get to know their stories. You can't help but follow them and just root for them wherever they're at.
Exactly. Yeah, definitely like a lack of coverage, like you said, but also ramping up volleyball is growing. It's especially on the women's indoor side with the getting on some of the bigger networks at the college ranks, and then the pro leagues coming up here soon too, and growing. So hopefully can move some of that over into the beach and men's side too, get on those bigger networks and get some coverage. And but until then, we'll keep doing our work here. And I'm sure you'll just keep doing your work too.
I know I've got to pass the torch somewhere. I got to relax and go on vacation and every once in a while and retire.
Vacation? What's that?
What is that? Never heard of those before. I'm just kidding. I would love to just dive right into announcing, and as we were about to probably do that in a little bit. But let's talk about the game of volleyball overall. How were you introduced to the game of volleyball? Were you a player back in the day? What was your introduction to that?
I was there when William Morgan invented the game because I'm that old.
Tell us more about that.
Yeah,
what were those early days of volleyball?
Actually, so it's funny. I was raised to be a baseball player. From grades 3 on, was hardcore into baseball and was doing the whole pony to all-stars, traveling teams and all that. And then one day at my junior high school, I happened to see this little sand pit that was also a really big kitty litter box. I'm like, oh, what are those guys doing? And there at the time, it was the 30 by 30 court on the sand. So it's old school. And I'm like, that looks fun. Started getting into it more and more. And, it was like, I can do this. I have I think I like playing this 3 contact game that we're just getting our hands stuck in the net and, thinking we can clobber people on the other side of the net, not getting calls or anything, but just enjoyed playing volleyball on the sand, and then they started introducing it more in our field house using an indoor, which is a concrete, scuff your knee up every time you go on the ground and get a couple stitches here and there. But I still had a great time. And I naturally took to the second contact person. Didn't realize at the time I was called a setter. I loved hitting, but couldn't get above the net. Blocking for obvious reasons, still couldn't get above the net because I was just a little tyke. And but I loved getting that second ball and setting people up. So it was a natural for me to just jump in as a setter playing volleyball right at the get-go.
What sort of, what helped you in your transition from baseball to volleyball? Do you remember that at all?
That's an interesting one.
Yeah. We don't have many baseball to volleyball people in this game, I don't think.
Overcoming the disappointment from my parents saying that. Because I also was a big surfer too. And it's just natural, where I grew up in Newport Beach, and when you're done surfing, you hit the volleyball court. So I think they kind of knew that the beach culture that I was raised in, it was just a natural fit. And I just happened to take it on more than my other friends who were in other sports. Basketball was fun, but not really my big gig. Football was fun, but again, something about being on the beach and playing volleyball was so just right for me. So,
I think you bring a very interesting point when you talk about culture in volleyball, especially beach volleyball. Can you talk about the community, the friends you made? Are some of those friends, lifelong friends you still talk to this day? It's very unique in the beach game when we talk about that.
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, I still keep in touch with my my high school teammates because they happen, a handful of them are still in the area, and they've continued on marrying wives who happen to be volleyball players without them knowing it. And they've stuck in the game and all that. So it's been an exciting time to go out to, let's say, I'm really close to Huntington Beach, the Newland courts. There's a lot of club tournaments and colleges competing in their duels. And I'm like, hey, that's my old teammate. I'm like, what are you doing here? Who is a police officer too? I'm like, it's like, yeah, I'm a volunteer assistant. My wife's the coach of this team over here. I'm like, and then just being able to see their involvement in the game. And in this community where I live in a beach community, so a lot of people do play volleyball anyways. So everyone's super tight and they know each other just from showing up on the beach with a ball, show with a bag of, I won't say the brand balls because I know you have a sponsor here, but they'll show up with a bag of balls like, you play volleyball? And this is the good one. I come home, I've got my USA Volleyball backpack on my back, coming back from an event I work, and a woman's walking her Frenchie and says, "What's your connection to USA Volleyball?" I'm like, I'm an announcer, broadcaster. She goes, "What's your name?" It's Rob. Just, oh my gosh, you're Rob on the mic. My daughter.
Awesome.
You.
That's
you
cool.
In our neighborhood.
Right up the street.
But it's just the community is small but big in the same respects. because I never want to limit it to just where I'm at, because in my travels, I've come to know a lot of players across, gosh, I was going to say the nation, but really the world. And there are people who I stay in contact pretty regularly just to send a note of encouragement, of results, or just see them playing. And, I think it's just wherever volleyball's at, I'm on it. So the community, I used to think was a very small community, over the miles is a huge one, but it's definitely a smaller community with the relationships that I have, for sure.
Yeah, small but big, and there's always some connection with whoever you're talking to, whoever you run into in the community. I was on a plane with my wife. We're going to a honeymoon trip, and I had my USA Volleyball backpack as well. And the woman next to us was like, "Do you know Jordan Poulter by chance?" And I was like, "Yeah, Jordan's great." And she, her daughter, the woman's daughter, played volleyball with Jordan, club volleyball with her. Just happened to be on our flight and are sitting next to us in our row. So yeah, just another example of small but big community there.
Yeah.
Yep. Oh, without a doubt.
And I loved your story about your friend who's a police officer. I feel like once you're in volleyball, you can't get out.
You're always in. It's how much you're in, not to. But that's really cool to hear. Can you talk a little bit about just how you were first connected to USA Volleyball?
Well, that goes back to 2006, and that year, John Spera was the head coach at UC Irvine. And he obviously was an assistant at the time, or helping out with the men's program, being there based about 10 miles up the freeway in Anaheim. And he wanted to host USA events and some international events in the Brent Event Center. So, I'm trying to remember, actually, USA Argentina, now I think about it, was the first international match that was hosted in there. And I met a woman by the name of Melissa Weymouth at the time.
Yep.
So, and Mike Chandler. So, did some, since I was the in-house PA announcer, they used me for the event, and Mike gave me his card and said, "Hey, can we use you for some other stuff?" And I said, "Sure." Is that local? Like, no, you'd be traveling around. So I was introduced to that. And at the time they had me go to World League.
Oh, cool.
So, and that was pre-VNL, for all you wondering what World League was. And that was such a great experience, because it was then that I got to whet my appetite for the international style of play and really be exposed to some of the great international players, both on the men's and women's sides. And it's like looking at the people that I was in front of, like seeing the 7'2" Russians and come in, and I'm like, what? I can meet those people? For sure, I'm in. So, and then Mike Chandler moved on, and then Melissa Weymouth stayed with USA Volleyball and kept a really good relationship with her. And I'm telling you, that is one of the hardest working women that I know in the volleyball world. So I'm thankful that I have this relationship with her, and that she, can trust me to go work USA Volleyball events and VNL and all these major Olympic qualifiers, because it's without her and her ability to recommend that I be a part of that. I think that's where I get my fire for USA Volleyball, just that opportunity that she's given me to be a part of USA Volleyball.
Shout out Mel. Yeah, we love Mel here at USA Volleyball as well. And yeah, like you said, one of the hardest working people at USA Volleyball and in the volleyball community too. When you're talking about that, but yeah,
she usually
social media people are slackers. So.
Oh yeah, puts me to shame. Yeah, I'm just on my phone the whole time. I guess stay on announcing. What you talked a little bit about, where you started with USA Volleyball and announcing, and before that. But what hooked you with announcing? Like, what kept you in that field?
Yeah, I think when I first came into announcing, I mean, the way I got into it was by happenstance. I was a lines official trying to pay for my college education, and they just said they wanted a voice, and because the announcer didn't show up. So there I was, and that was my first year of very, very many. But then as I had this natural love for the game of volleyball, I felt that something was missing on an excitement side. I'm not saying that the play wasn't exciting on its own, but I felt like it could be enhanced. in the fan experience. So I started incorporating more of the colorful euphemisms, analogies, sayings, pop culture type sayings, lyrics to songs in calling the matches. And that started to really pick up, and I started to get even more work, not only at UC Irvine, but various high school juniors, pro events, and then obviously to USA Volleyball. And that's kind of helped me really get a huge energy for it, seeing the crowd enjoy it, not because of what I'm saying, but enhancing what our phenomenal athletes are doing on the court. And that's what really gives me the big stoke, is seeing that these athletes are being recognized for their efforts and for what they're doing on the court. I mean, because it's not a knock on the play in the early 2000s, 80s, 90s, but reality of it is we're seeing some of the most phenomenal play right now at such young levels. And I want to bring that to attention. I'm hoping that what I do brings attention to that play, that gets the game recognized on a much higher level. Hopefully getting some kind of expansion of the game in so many areas that people can watch more and more volleyball and get on board.
Do you only stick to volleyball across the board, or do you kind of venture into other sports or other, businesses that need an MC announcer type of thing there, or is it strictly volleyball?
Yeah, the occasional wedding ceremony, I'll jump on.
I can see it.
Just see a wedding going on the beach, jump in, grab the mic. Yeah.
First time. Yeah. I kind of did it all in the beginning. I've done my baseball, water polo, had a stint with the LA Clippers. But
what year were you? I'm sorry to cut you off. What year were you with the Clippers?
2005, 2006, I think.
Okay.
In 2000s.
Yeah.
So I was doing stuff with them there and actually made some really good connections, and actually some of the relationship, other PA announcers and hosts, I still keep in contact from there today. So, but I've definitely done my share of other sports and emceed events and award ceremonies and all that. But I think now I'm really hyper focused on volleyball. And even now I'm realizing I may have to go even more specialized in that because of how fast the game is growing. The demand for something like an MC host or even a play-by-play, which is what I've evolved into, has grown exponentially. So, and there's lots of capable people who can do it, and I'm thankful for the opportunity, but I can't spread myself that thin.
Now, as you're talking about specialization, which one would you be leaning towards of that road there? We're making you pick now, so you got to tell everybody.
That's one of the questions that I have a hard time deciding on, because the MC host, particularly the way that I've learned in the last decade or so, based on the volleyball world, FI, VB, VNL, beach format, and indoor and all that, they want to have more crowd engagement, which I am all about. I love doing that thing. In fact, shameless self-promotion plug, I'll be MC host at the NCAA Men's Volleyball Championships for the semis and finals coming up in Long Beach on May 4th. But I like that part. I mean, it's high energy. I love getting people excited for the game, and I like that, hype it up as much as I can. However, there's also the play-by-play side. I just can't stop talking about the play. I like bringing attention to not only just the play, but the even just some of the off-court stuff, accomplishments of some of the players, getting their what makes them tick type thing on the broadcast, or even backstories. I like to bring in the knowledge of the game, what's happening in the game, mechanics, techniques, but also to bring a personalized segment to that based on players' backgrounds and just by the nature of being where I'm at in the game. I know quite a bit of people, and my analyst also knows a lot of people. So between both of us, we'll have some kind of dirty little tidbit or even some nice little note on each of the people we're focusing on. So it's just a great fit. I love them both. It's hard for me to pick. If I had to, pick one, I'm not going to do that to myself because I know that there's so many good opportunities that means making the event, giving 150% of myself, making the event better. I'm I'll do whatever it takes. I mean, if you want me in playing DJ, which I'm a horrible DJ, I'll do it, but I'll do my best.
I think some events you've had to wear both hats, right? DJ and MC.
The budget was tight.
Yeah. Yep. I remember that. Kind of staying on that as well. And I appreciate what you do as well. You're talking a little bit about it there, but your efforts help grow the game as well for those listeners, those viewers who are watching volleyball. It's not just Bump Set Spike that they're watching, but they're listening to your commentary and hearing more about the players, hearing more about the game. So yeah, definitely appreciate all the energy and effort and passion that you put into what you do.
Well, there are so many excellent athletes that have great stories. And, there's, one of my favorites is, so there's this little blonde-haired girl watching courtside at the UC Irvine men's volleyball matches. And, her brother happens to be an outside hitter for UCI and pretty good player too. But this little girl is always at all the matches. Turns out this little blonde-haired girl was a pretty good baller herself. Her name was Sarah Hughes.
little name there. Yeah.
Yeah. But so from that connection, I got to see her play in high school, win a couple CIF Southern Section championships indoors. And then she showed up in all these magazines on the beach. I'm like, Sarah, I had no idea you were falling on the beach still.
That's cool. That's awesome. That's a fun story. Well, you mentioned it. You did a little plug in there for the NCAA men's, but let's talk more about that. You're going to be at the Pyramid April 30th through the 4th, a venue that you're very familiar with. You talk a little bit about, what it means to have the NCAAs there at Walter Pyramid.
Well, it's a big deal in Southern California. And if anyone's been to the Walter Pyramid, or let's just say Long Beach as a whole, but that community supports volleyball.
Yeah.
Alan Knipe and his athletic staff there, they've been supporting, and even his coaching staff are huge supporters of USA Volleyball. They offer up that venue there, any facilities, connections they've got to get events hosted in there. And it's a great community. You've got the Long Beach community. It's literally the center area between Los Angeles and Orange County. And it's a doable drive if you're from San Diego or Santa Barbara in that area. But being that Long Beach State is it's a great rivalry matchup for the school that employs me, which is UC Irvine. But, in the end, we all love the game of volleyball. And Al and I actually go way back. Actually, one of my high school teammates was his college teammate. And, he's got ties to the local community college as well. I'm super connected with that staff as well, which the junior college championships are coming up this week.
That's right. Yeah.
I'll be at on Thursday night if I can make it there on time, and on Saturday night for the championship match. But there's just an excellent support community there. And those people love their volleyball. The Pyramid is a great venue, 5,000 people strong. Last national championship, sold out, standing room only, and big hype. They've got an excellent Terraflex floor, which I believe they'll have to change out though for the national championship. But, it's still one of the best places to play. And there's a great supportive, high energy, enthusiastic crowd there. And they're going to show up regardless of who's playing. So, it's going to be a fun time. And with the teams that are going to be there this year, it's going to be nothing short of phenomenal.
I think that's a good little segue into talking about the teams that are going to be there this year. I mean, we're up to 8 teams now too. I know last year we were at 7. Be a little way to balance out the tournament there too. So what's your take on that? Yeah.
Woo! Wow. Well, funny that we were recording now. I literally just got off my College Volleyball Weekly beat men's top 20 podcast recording with my crew. And I get the insight of this coaching staff that decides to participate weekly, and hearing their take on what we could see this week. And I'll name drop there. Brad Roster of UC San Diego, Theo Edwards of CSUN, Dan Brand of Lewis, and Jay Hosick of George Mason. They've been on the podcast now, some 2 years, some up to 6 years, 5 years, 6. I can't even count. But, what we've all come to realize is this year we're seeing some of the most competitive play, not only what used to be only on the western side of the United States, but we're seeing teams really rise up in the Midwest and the East Coast, even the Carolinas. And for the first time ever, you're going to see a SIAC, the Southeastern Athletic Conference team. That is the HBC conference. 6 teams, actually, I think they may be expanding, but their first ever auto berth into the tournament. That's Fort Valley State. Larry Rather is doing a great job at Fort Valley State. So they're going to come in at the number 8 seed, and it's historic. They've gone through the process of being able to get that automatic berth and played an incredible season over in the SIAC, and actually ventured out and played some pretty top-end schools in the Midwest and the East. So you got that growth. You got Belmont Abbey from the Conference Carolinas, another good team. Then you start seeing some of the familiar names like Ohio State, Penn State, and then UC Irvine, Grand Canyon, their second appearance ever. They won their first MPSF championship over the weekend. And of course, you got Long Beach State and UCLA. This year, you've seen in the MEVA, which is the Midwest Intercollegiate Volleyball Association, that conference was one of the most unpredictable conferences this year because of the competition. You had, fifth place teams upsetting the first place team, new number 1, and then, Loyola was injured. So you have Ohio State beating up. It just was a hot mess, and no one could predict anything out of there. So after that brawl and a couple upsets through the conference tournament, Ohio State ends up in there, which ironically started up in the top 5 in the nation at the beginning of the season. So it all settled itself at the end, but I mean, up until that point, it was unpredictable. So
yeah, and just
go ahead.
Go ahead. Yeah. I just wanted to note, because you brought up Fort Valley and the HBCUs, SIAC, but back in 2019, we've talked about it on this podcast before, but back in 2019, USA Volleyball and First Point Volleyball Foundation, which is John Spero's foundation, got together and did $1 million grant to support the SIAC and adding men's volleyball. So like you said, historic to bring in 8 teams and for Fort Valley to be that 8th seed to come into the tournament. That it's awesome and just shows more growth of the game.
And unfortunately, after seeing what's happened this year, a minimum of 4 good teams are left out of this NCAA tournament. And it's unfortunate because I think of all the years I've been following collegiate men's volleyball, we've seen a shift of the number 1 at least 5 times in a 16-week season.
Wow.
So, you had stories like Hawaii. They were a front-runner favorite, not only in the Big West Conference, but in the NCAA tournament. And then, it is tragic. They lost their All-American outside hitter, who's known as the Greek Freak, my favorite name, but Spiros Hakas, on match point of a tournament, not even a conference match, a tournament they were playing in. And that changed their direction towards the end here and ended up not qualifying. But I can't help but wonder if they were fully available, if Spiros was fully available, what they could have done. And I mean, realistically, the Big West Conference could have had 2 at-larges along with the outer berth because it was that good. So, but the play has been amazing this season across the nation. John Spero's UCLA team is a powerhouse without a doubt. But then you have Matt Worley's Grand Canyon Lopes. They're doing some things that they just proved last year wasn't a fluke. They came back and had a 4-loss season and were competing in the MPS tournament this weekend and upset the number 1 seed UCLA. So.
That's right. Won their first title too. MPS.
That is correct.
First title. Yeah.
I'm specifically looking forward to that match when you play Ohio State. I mean, we have a friend of the pod, Jacob Pastor, who's been on here too. Such an incredibly athletic individual, great guy, smart, volleyball knowledge to the roof. And then I'm very interested to see how that match plays out for sure. I think that's one of the ones on my radar that I really need to make sure I watch for sure.
Well, Clarence, Jacob Pastor is a good dude, and I love watching him play. And funny story there, because I follow social and see the news on there, and there was a footage that came up on social media that watch this serve by Jacob Pastor, 80 miles per hour. And I'm like, I put a comment on there. Is that really 80 miles per hour? The libero who got the ball said, I can confirm that it was definitely in the conversation for AVCA Player of the Year, and unfortunately, he got slowed with a knee injury after the First Point Collegiate Challenge in Austin. But that wasn't before UCLA upset then number one UCLA. So, Ohio State is one of those MEBA teams that created all that havoc in that conference. They took down UCLA, which I'm like, oh my gosh, is this legit here? Because they've got what Kevin Birch is doing there. He's got some really big players that can play some serious ball. So Jacob Pasher definitely is one of the favorites to watch. I know he's in the USA pipeline, so it's always good to see him rocking the red, white, and blue.
Yeah, just a side note too. I've even thought about trying to go back home and watch some of the matches live while they're in Long Beach. I mean, I'm born and raised in Long Beach, lived in Colorado Springs now, but just the travel schedule is a little hectic too, so I'm trying to work that one out.
Yes, just gotta go to the LBC,
Mm-hmm. They had a nice direct flight from the Springs to Long Beach Airport right away, so I'm looking into it, but not looking too likely.
We'll be streaming on NCAA.com. Just remember that. So
I'm watching no matter what. Know that.
Yeah, looking at these matchups, do you have a favorite that you're dialed in on that you really want to check out? Well, I mean, you're going to watch all of them, but up close and personal. But is there anyone that you're looking at like with a finer lens?
Well, as a graduate of UC Irvine, and I think everyone knows this, I'm a UCI homer, but I hide that as much as I can. But I mean, I'm a fan of volleyball, and it's at a point in the game where it's hard to root for teams because you get to know the people, the coaching staff. So I just want to see a hard-fought battle. I want to see 100% effort, and I love seeing the battles. And whatever the results are, I'd love to see Irvine win their 5th national championship. But I mean, given the competition, it's going to be insanity. If there were a match that only went 3 sets, I'd be really surprised beyond the semifinals. So these teams are very well dialed in. They've got a lot of talent, and the coaching staffs are so talented. I mean, seeing the kind of planning that they're doing and making adjustments, and sure, there's some that'll say just go in with what Scott is here, but they're making little tweaks and adjustments. Let's just be real. They're watching volumetrics and huddle, and they're charting. They're not going to fool me for a second.
Yeah, can you give us and the listeners like any teasers that any notes that you're pulling that you're gonna have up in your notebook as you announce these events, announce these matches?
That's a hard one.
Any backstory or anything that any fun stories that you're pulling for the athletes or coaches?
You just admitted to tie to UCI. Well, look at that.
Well, so Pavlik is like in his 100th season of coaching. No, it's third. Yeah. But, I think all the coaching staffs, they don't get enough credit for what they're doing. I mean, look at Pav, who's been doing it as long as he has it. It's incredible when he jokes. It's like, Rob, these, whenever I interview him online, it's like these trophies behind me aren't mine, they're my wife's, because she coaches at junior.
That's right. Yeah.
It's like these national championship trophies aren't mine. But seeing what he works with, I mean, for this almost 3 decades now is phenomenal to see. And then obviously you got, Alan Knipe of Long Beach State just recorded his 400th career win at Long Beach State. He's got a great crew there. And if there's their players specifically to watch out for at Long Beach State, Sotir Shapanis. He's a Cypriot, or from Cyprus, for those who don't know what a Cypriot is. But he has the ability to create havoc and get point scoring opportunities. And it's pretty amazing to see that happen. And just the fact his son, Aiden Knipe, is a starting setter on that team, and just seeing his career since, being a local boy, he's from Huntington Beach, got to see Aiden play all through high school, club, and now at Long Beach State. But just the change that he's gone through, watching him commit to the game and get to the highest level is pretty cool to see. For UC Irvine, Hilaire Henno has been doing some phenomenal things offensively. And he's one of those guys that's so creative on the attack. He's got, I call it the Home Depot selection of shots. Every single tool you want, he's going to do it, and he's going to use it. So, and the French national team is going to be getting a phenomenal, left-handed outside hitter, because technically his dominant hand should be put at the right side, but he's, leading the nation or second in the nation in kills, hitting well over 450. Just the other night in the semifinal match against Hawaii, over 25 points. He hit over 500, and, he's kind of taken off a little bit from his service game, but he's still ninth in the nation. At one point, he led the nation last year at 0.88 aces per set. And, he's turned it up offensively this year. Grand Camden Gianni. I mean, let's face it, his story, he was dead for a little bit before training his first year at college, and is a remarkable story, and having open heart surgery, getting things right, training for a year, coming back and becoming a 4-5 time. He's been there for a while because COVID's kind of messed things up. I'm just looking at trying to figure everything out, but I believe it's now a 5-year All-American. And he's in the USA program as well as an opposite hitter. But, he's doing some pretty phenomenal things. He got setters like Nick Slide, also in the USA program from Grand Canyon, and a ton of talented guys at UCLA. I don't even know where to start with them, but Ethan Champlin's one of the names because he's just one of the guys that does a lot for that team, leadership-wise and talent-wise. And he's not the biggest hitter. He's probably not the most powerful, but his leadership on the court and his consistency has made him one of the most highly respected players in the game, not only as an athlete, but as a coach and as a fan too. So, and I know I'm missing out a lot, and I'm so sorry, all you guys.
That was awesome. That was more than I expected. Thank you for sharing all that. I think that was a great tease for the championship coming up here.
Absolutely.
I'll be courtside for the entire tournament on the MCO. Like, just saying, shameless self-promotion. It's our thing.
They'll walk up to you and say, "Hey, you missed you on Fox. What's going on here?" No, but I mean, like Stephen mentioned too, that was a really great take, really great insight information on very notable players. And I think you do the best you can, but there's too many players, and to kind of mention here and all that stuff there too. But I'm very excited, very happy for you to be able to be courtside and do your thing on the mic, and also just watch some very, like you said, high level, great volleyball across the spectrum of the tournament there.
Well, one thing I didn't get to drop in there, I didn't know where I could sneak it in, more shameless self-promotion, but it's not for me. It's because what people don't see, especially on the men's side, I know on the women's side, media does a great job of promoting the women's tournament. They've got the 64 teams they're following up, and the coverage just isn't the same for the men's. But in between there, just like the women's, is the All-America banquet, which I always enjoy hosting, because I'll be hosting again this year, and I'm blessed to have that opportunity just because of it being up the freeway from me. But it's probably like my 5th one. But being able to read the athletes' accomplishments who make the first and second teams is always so cool to see. And, because of the amount of talent in collegiate men's volleyball, there's no way you can get everyone. I mean, I know they're athletes from like the non-traditional volleyball conferences, like Conference Carolinas, that get left out, or maybe some people from the MIVA or EIVA. But it just shows that volleyball is growing on the men's and boys side to a level that, we got to start expanding the honorable mentions, because the honorable mention list is deep, but they could easily be in the top 1 or 2 in the ABC All-America list.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like you said, that's just a testament to where the game is now, and the athletic level from the boys, the grassroots, and what they're doing at grassroots level, growing the game through the boys all the way up to men's collegiate. Like, it's huge, and hopefully, later down the road, we see this tournament bracket just expand and add more teams in, because that's going to be you're going to have to at some point.
Yeah,
I coach on my podcast, like, skip 12, we're going to 16.
Yeah,
16. That's around.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like I said, at a minimum of 4 good teams are left out of this NCAA tournament.
Yeah,
and it's unfortunate, especially with what the world went through. This is the last of the COVID class, so there are guys that have been grinding, and in fact, some of these guys, their programs were on the chopping block, and to see them actually finish out their careers, I wish that it could have been a storybook ending had they been able to make the NCAA tournament.
Yeah. I was even going to say, just talking about the growth overall, I also coach volleyball on the side. This has been my first year. I'm coaching boys here in the state of Colorado. my team's also going to get a chance to play at our boys international championship in July. No, excuse me, not July. End of June, right before July happens, and it'll be my first time personally seeing what that boys tournament on the junior end is really like, level of play, number of teams, and just overall growth of the game from a national standpoint too. So just wanted to, just echo second, add to that what you mentioned there too. It's just very exciting to be part of the, boys and men's part of the volleyball, while that just continues to just tremendously grow every year.
Well, First Point has been doing a great job. Minnesota, Kentucky. I mean, how many states more are fielding boys volleyball? And I'm waiting for the other states to jump on board, like Texas. Hello, Nebraska.
Yeah.
Step up to Florida. Step up to the plate. It's exciting sport. And the sad thing is, when I go to beach tournaments, there are no boys or men's beach programs, yet you see all these boys playing in these like USA Beach championships, and there's good talent out there. Mm-hmm. And if you want, obviously that's on the beach side, but these guys are playing indoor also, because as I got to talk to them at these places, like, oh yeah, we're going to our high school senior match tonight. I'm like, what? You're playing in an all-day beach tournament, and then your coach is going to let you play tonight too? So, I mean, it's out there. Someone just has to really get it started in those areas.
Mm-hmm. That's a really good point. I think a really good segue to even just talk about the NCAA Beach National Championship that's coming up very, very soon as well. I mean, Gulf Place Beach, Gulf Shores, Alabama, Selection Sundays on the 28th of April. And then, they're on May 3rd through the 5th. Yourself, being part of the, beach volleyball community as a whole. You have any takes on there, any comments, feedback to that tournament?
Oh, for sure. I think this is a time of the year that is one of the toughest times of the year for me, because I'm torn. It's because of the brilliance of having the NCAA men's championships on the same weekends as the NCAA beach championships. Right. So if you look at my social posts over the last few years, you will always see the beach up on my monitor while I'm working a match. It's not that I'm not paying attention. I'm like, why do we do this to ourselves? Why should we have the two biggest events in each of those disciplines on the same stinking day?
Yeah.
You're tapping into each other's fan bases, which does not make sense. And the growth of both the games would benefit of moving them onto different weekends. If they want viewership, why divide them in half? It's just, there's so many, as with the men, so many incredible athletes on the women's side in beach that are competing on the sand. I mean, if you look at the level of talent, even just 5 years ago, it was, you had upperclassmen leading the way. Now you're seeing these junior players being raised up through the club system with just as much of a skill set, if not more, than those same players. So that's why you're seeing a lot of freshmen, underclassmen competing in the top 5 flights at each of the top 10 schools. You have great freshmen and sophomore that are in the, as high as the one pairs, and, goes as deep as the 5s. It's seeing how good these players are now coming out of all this training and all the beach championships that are happening throughout the nation on multiple beaches. I do air quote that because beach is on the coast for me, but you've seen all these sand courts pop up in the Midwest, in Wisconsin, over in New York, in inland, or in Pennsylvania, and even Tennessee. John Hyden's got his beach gig over there, and he's getting some great players from there. But these girls, or if there were guys programs, I'm sure they would be too, but they're being recruited to play at the top 20 schools in beach volleyball. And you're seeing the talent really emerge at younger levels, which is so fun to watch. Funny story. I worked in 2018-19 at a beach tournament and met 2 teams competing in the medal round of the gold medal match. Those names: Delaney Maple, Megan Kraft, Lexi Denneberg, Riley Powers. That's a USC versus UCLA. But kept a relationship with them, just, talking about stuff as their careers went on in college, and seeing where they're at right now, which they're all going to be competing for a national championship. I mean, yeah, they got the conference tournament going on, but seeing how good they were then and where they are now is such a testament to how fast the game is growing and how much better the athletes are getting before getting into college.
Yeah. Shout out to those athletes that you just mentioned who are in the USA Volleyball pipeline as well. And then we've had Megan Kraft on the podcast too. That was a great episode having her on. But like you mentioned, yeah, just so cool to see where beach collegiate volleyball was in those early days when you had, indoor players playing beach too. Still have a little bit of that now, but now with the boom of club volleyball and beach being added to those club volleyball programs, you're seeing athletes being recruited just for beach, and that level of play is just skyrocketed because of that. So thank you for pointing that out. It's going to be a very exciting tournament to watch.
Well, there's Gulf Shores is going to be a beatdown. I mean, there are teams that are upsetting each other there as well. And there's the powerhouses of UCLA and USC, but really making a big jump this year has been Stanford. And then, of course, you got TCU, Cal Poly, a little Big West school that could, Coach Todd Rogers, which, I mean, gosh, we've heard his name somewhere. Oh, former.
Where do I know that's from? Yeah.
He's really put together a good team, and he's got a hodgepodge of some mix of graduate students and some young players. But I mean, just watching what Todd does for these players and how much his players respect him. I mean, it doesn't surprise me that they tied their highest ranking in program history at number 4 in the AVCA poll, but I mean, they're out to do some damage. And if a team sleeps on them, they better watch out.
I love that format too of the tournament, and Gulf Shores is such a great venue for it. Beautiful beach there if you haven't been, but that format is really cool with 5 pairs. You're playing a best of 5 between those pairs. So when, one match ends, those teams are running over to the other court to watch their teammates play. And the fans too are running over from court to court, it's really cool to watch. And have you ever been to the tournament? I know you watch it from your emceeing announcing station at the men's, but could you speak to that, to the format as well?
Well, since the inception of Gulf Shores, I've been at every NCAA men's indoor championship, which is on the same weekend. Hello, planning committee.
Come on.
But I'm watching it, and I love that format. That's part of the reason why I enjoy it so much, because working as a MC host or doing play-by-play for beach duels, especially when they have 2 waves of flights going, they'll have the twos and fours go first, and then the 1s, 3s, and 5s. So you'll come out of the first wave of flights. 2s and 4s are tied at 1 dual point apiece. Now we entered our second wave of flights with our 1s, 3s, and 5s. Oh, looks like the number 5 pair just got that point. 2-1, so-and-so. Oh, wait, but now the number 3s got that point. It's tied 2 dual points apiece, in which you referenced to. All the people are running to the number 1's court to see who's going to get that point. And it's even more amazing when it goes to a third set tiebreak, who's extended set. Mm-hmm. But it's such an exciting atmosphere when it gets down to that final duel. And I mean, there's nothing better. You have the entire teams rooting for their girls, the crowd's all into it. And then as an MC host, I'm like getting into it, all excited. And at that point, I'm not rooting for a team anymore. I'm rooting for the game,
It's a timeout in a men's match, and you just hear you on the hot mic, just screaming, yelling about what's going on the beach, maybe. That's awesome. Yeah. I guess anything, we want to talk a little bit about your podcast as well, but anything about the men's or beach tournaments that are going on, we got to split those up, like you mentioned, but anything any last words you'd like to say about either one of those tournaments before we move on here?
Well, for the men's side, I definitely encourage you guys. I mean, I've been trying to get this hashtag. I don't even know if they're a sponsor, but I gotta say, because that's what I use. But greatest show on Terraflex is men's volleyball.
Cool.
I mean, you're seeing probably the highest level of physicality. And you're getting some giants on the court that have excellent mechanics and technique, who have high volley IQs going at it. That's why they're playing in a national championship. But in the same respect, you've got some of the best liberos and ball control people in the nation in those liberos and the setters. So you may think a ball's down. Like, you'll see some guy crush a ball to 79, 85 miles per hour, but then, oh, wait, it got popped up by that little 6'1" libero, and the setter is going to throw a shoot set to the pin and get the point anyway. So it doesn't matter. So, the game is so fast, so powerful. You got to watch men's volleyball if you haven't done so already. And on the beach side, we already talked about that format. It's exciting to watch, but again, watch what these players are doing on the court. Their ball control is amazing, and even the strategy of the game has transformed quite a bit in the last few years, where they're doing a lot more option balling on 2 and even over on 1, which we're seeing internationally quite a bit. A fast and furious offense. Again, you do that in the indoor game because you have 6 players and you run quicks, but you start seeing this in the beach. I'm like, that just shows the ball control is getting so good in the game, and defense and transition is entertaining to watch because they'll run these backslides, you got the one-on-one blocks and being able to read and, faux blocking, stepping away like they're going to pull on defense, but go up and press over and deny someone. It's all exciting to me. So I love seeing these little intricacies of the game transpire, and even see the strategy in beach, because you see one blocker call one way, they're going to do a read. You see the defender fake left, go right, so maybe that's just the volley nerd in me, but there's so much happening in that.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned all those terms and everything, and all the volley nerds listening just sat up a little bit.
Well, the volleyball terminology is the other thing. All the grip, the lingo, like, hey, that's chowder. That ball.
Yeah,
the stand monster got you.
Love that. Yeah, definitely a great weekend of volley coming up here soon. Definitely check out the men's tournament, and if you're going to recognize that voice that you're hearing in the arena right here on the podcast, and then check out the beach tournament as well. It's going to be a lot of fun. Great weekend of volley, like we've been talking about. But let's move over into podcasting as well. You kind of tease it a little bit. You just did your I don't know what you're going to call it, Selection Sunday recap type podcast episode. But could you just talk a little bit about the Viral Volley podcast, what you're doing there?
Okay, so Viral Volley podcast started pre-COVID. The way that started out was on volleyballmag.com. They had a show, College Volleyball Weekly, which was started by Kevin Barnett back in, I want to say 2009-ish, 2006 or 2009, one of those two. And he'd let me know, because I was a contributor on the College Volleyball Weekly segment, that he's going to be retiring the show. And I'm like, gosh, I don't want to see the coverage for men's fade away. So Lee Feinswag of Volleyball Mag said, hey, would you be willing to do the interview segment for Volleyball Mag? I'm like, sure. I'm like, well, if I'm going to be talking to him, I might as well turn it into a podcast episode. So that's how it first started. And that was that was conceived in November of 2019. So I, spent a long time thinking about, like, I got to do it. Whether I want to or not, I got to do this because the game can't suffer or have less media. So I'm like, I'll do it. Well, obviously something big happened in the world, and and we started getting these grumblings of a virus that was coming around in late November and even early December of COVID. I was like, I happen to remember seeing a tweet from CNN. I'm like, so I think it was someone saying, hey, watch out for this. Like, oh, no big deal. So I decided to run with it. I'm like, let's do College Volleyball Weekly, but let me do a test episode. My first podcast guest was Tina Gradina of then USC, who plays beach volleyball for Latvia now, which is one of the relationships I always try to keep in contact with her, because she does such great stuff and is a great person to talk to. And as I got into that more and more, made connection with Dan, friend of Lewis, because they happen to be playing in Long Beach towards the end of December at the start of the men's season. So I said, well, would you be willing to come on weekly? It's like, yeah. And from there, I said, well, who else do I know in the men's volleyball world really well? Well, Jay Hostic of George Mason used to be an assistant coach at UC Irvine, was one of the associate head coaches at Irvine Valley College, and just known him for a really long time, fellow surfer. So he was a natural fit. And then I knew Dave Hunt, who at the time was in Pepperdine, now an associate coach at Texas. So that was my original podcast crew. And from there, we just ran with it. It started small as always, but as word started to get out, we started to get more and more listeners. And, it was great until the world shut down on May 15th. Or was it May 15th. I remember being at a beach duel at USC, a pretty major one too, at LMU, USC, Pepperdine, and UCLA, all there. So you remember a dad courtside saying, "Oh, no way, they just shut down the Mavericks Jazz game because someone tested positive for COVID." And from there, obviously we know what happened. So with that, everything shut down. And I was like, well, shoot, I want to keep the conversation on volleyball. So I'm like, well, maybe I don't do College Volleyball Weekly and do just a volleyball podcast. So I had potential Olympians, Sarah Hughes, Kelly Clays, Brandy Wilkerson, and then anyone else who wanted to come on. That I knew from college, even some collegiate players, and that's how it really transformed. Carrie Walsh-Jennings, April Ross, they all came on at one point during when the world was shut down. So, that was exciting to be able to have those kind of guests on there and get more eyes on it, on beach volleyball and indoor volleyball.
What would you say, from maybe start? I know we in very much detail talk about the stint, COVID and the shutdown, how that affected things, and kind of rolling into now. What would you kind of say your main focus of the podcast is, and how has that changed throughout the years? Or evolved, I'll say.
At first, I didn't know what I was doing, so I had no expectations. But as I get more focused, I think people just want to hear the discussion of, there are times when we'll go very stat heavy, performance heavy, but then we'll get into the stories, the news around what's happening in the world of volleyball, like the big things to the small things, like things like Stanford cutting their program during COVID and rallying support for that, to, the Camden Gianni story about where he is at with his heart surgery and his heart situation, to even just recently, there was a Nick Eichelberger of Emmanuel University. He wanted to do a suicide awareness. It just kind of is on the fly type thing. I've never really set a format, but we will discuss results. That's a given. Top performers, and then I'll let the coaches, promote their programs because they're contributing their time. It's like, if I paid them, give them 100% raise, it's still amount to zero. So guys are doing it because they love the game, and that's why I think it works so well. We all are on the same page, saying, like, we know there's not going to be a paycheck in this, but we're doing this in the interest of growing the game of volleyball, getting it out there in people's in the forefront of people's eyes. And with that understanding, it's, I think that's where I've learned. It's like, not give the people what they want, but just be real. Mm-hmm. They want the results. We'll for sure get that, but we're going to be ourselves, and, we're tell it the way it is, so to speak.
Do you have a favorite guest or a favorite moment or topic that you've done on your show? It sticks out for you?
Yes. I know that the guests are all making a sacrifice to come on. Versus what they get in the rest of the world. Because obviously, unless you follow international volleyball, you don't see the kind of attention these players really get. The United States kind of doesn't pay as much attention. It's not a knock. I just think there's so many other things distracting the American viewer. Yeah. They're like big stars in other countries. If you want to get a microcosm of it, go to Hawaii, say you're on the volleyball team, you'll be treated like a rock star. That's how these players are treated out and abroad. So, unfortunately, we don't get that here on the mainland. So, is there a big guest? Yeah, the players that are getting the award, sure, but I think there's stories to everyone, and I want to treat them all the same. Yeah, there are people I want to definitely get out there to get more eyes on volleyball. I was going to say the podcast, but the podcast has never been about me. I have an interest in what they're doing as people and how they're performing on the world stage, or even just like talk family stuff if needed, because the fact of the matter is there's no volleyball to talk about in the shutdown years. So we were talking about things they're going through, how they became better players, what were some key components to their success? Like, because Micah Christensen, obviously there was a time when there was a very touchy situation in Russia, and couldn't really speak openly about it, but you can get the sense like, I got to be careful, and I had to respect that. Mm-hmm. But the fact is he's going through that time, and there's Istanbul, Turkey had a bombing incident at one point. I happened to be interviewing Haley Washington shortly after that happened. So I try to bring in the life perspective as well, because his life, there's life outside of volleyball, but definitely if we go that way, sure. If not, I'm cool with that too.
Yeah, I think that was kind of like our focus when we started the podcast too, is just, we want to talk volley. We want to, give these athletes who are so great on the court a platform to, talk about themselves too off the court. What are their interests? A lot of them have businesses, families, like you mentioned off the court that a lot of the listeners, fans just don't know about. But I think that just helps elevate the game, and for the listener, for the fan to get to know those athletes a little bit better, so that when they see them, playing volleyball, they're like, a little bit more connected to that athlete, maybe have some similarities or some similar interest or anything like that. But yeah, just helping spread, the love of volleyball and what the sport is just, our goal, and giving the athletes just one more platform to get their names out there, or, in coaches too, or all of our guests, just another platform.
I like podcasts.
Yeah.
Or podcasts, whatever you call it.
Yeah. Do you have just speaking of guests, but do you have like a white whale that you're chasing to bring onto the podcast? Ours is Tom Selleck. We're trying to get Tom on the podcast.
Well, the thing is, like, I saw that question. Like, that's a tough one. That's a really, really tough one. And I don't say it to like, duck out on it. I mean, when you got names like Karch Karai out there, and Carrie Walsh Jennings, April Ross, Misty May, you got Matt Anderson. It's like, how do you choose? So I actually have a different criteria. To me, I love humor. So one of the funniest people to follow, and I think the reason why I always watch when she puts something out, Haley Washington.
Yeah.
It's like, countdown to my next Chipotle burrito. I'm like, what? That's what you're looking forward to. Obviously because I play abroad, and always fun to follow her stuff. And, it's, there's some great storytellers out there. One that I just, she kind of lays low, but when she puts stuff out there, it's so good. Kelsey Cook, or Robinson.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
I mean, she is a wonderful photographer, and she's like great fashion sense. And I never thought I'd be liking that stuff. It doesn't help that you're pretty, but I mean, you look at the quality of what she's posting. I'm like, wow, she's got a really artistic eye and can beat the tar out of the ball. So, it's, I like following her stuff on the guys' side aren't as active, but if there are some guys, I had to put down there, Mike Ahmad, his boys at Out of System.
Right.
Always entertaining.
Yep.
They've signed on some new athletes to do some stuff with them this summer. And I'm like, so you guys can carry that on your own, though. I mean, between the Worsley brothers and Micah and then their back crew, they're always fun to follow. So, but I think any USA volleyball player, if they're posting, I'm watching and following. TJ DeFalco, David Smith, who's, I mean, what's this, a 20-year career so far? Yeah. It's, and seeing all the new USA talent that's out there, Chiako Bolu, she's always fun to see in her Turkish teams. And because of those connections, I'm now even more connected to not only the USA players, but get to know some of the international players. When they come out for friendlies, like, hey, what's going on? So it's like, the connection that we make from social media and through the players is just, it's how intertwined it is mind blowing.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, that's agreed. I mean, I feel like we've covered so much, like over the course of this interview, talking about, your podcast, men's national championship, beach national championships, your start to announcing your connection to USA Volleyball, everything in between. And before, we kind of wrap things up, do you have, anything else you want to leave on the table? Is your opportunity to do more shameless plugging?
Shameless self-promotion.
We can talk for literally days. I have to make this like a 5-part series or something like that. But if you got,
what would I do? I think more than anything else, if I can just ask your listeners and viewers, go out and follow the athletes you like in volleyball. Go and click and like and share stuff from USA Volleyball and any of these athletes, their teams, their social media, because honestly, their only measurement of success and people following is what you guys are engaging with on their media. It takes, they sacrifice quite a bit. They're training hard to be the best versions of themselves they can be. And it shows every day. The play is getting better and better and better. And you can call me out on it. Just look at footage from volleyball from a few years ago versus what we're seeing now. You can't deny the fact that people are getting better and excelling in the game. So do that little bit of support. Go and support our athletes, our teams, the teams and their schools that are supporting them, and the organizations that are getting the game out there. Drop a note every once in a while. Just let them know that you're out there, because there's some really great personalities in the game of volleyball, and not just at the USAV level, but throughout collegiate beach. And they're all, once you start having that conversation there, you can learn a ton from them. Yeah. And who knows, you may run into them on the beach near you or an indoor court near you. So, and then for USA Volleyball, when they're in town, go and support the events. If you're within driving distance, go to the events. And that's for the indoor men's and women's teams and all the beach teams, because the Olympics are coming up. They need to know that you're out there. And after what happened this last Olympics, basically no fans, I'm sure you're going to be looking forward to be playing in front of people this year. That'll change the dynamic for, I think, everyone that's competing there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, couldn't have said it better myself. Yeah, exciting year for volleyball with the Olympics and Paralympics coming up here, and just hopefully just see the growth of the game continue to grow with the Olympics and Paralympics coming up. But speaking of follows, shares, likes, where can people follow you? As you're traveling here and there to all these events and announcing and everything, and supporting your content as well.
The ultimate shameless self-promotion segment. It's always uncomfortable. But if you really wanted to see, really poorly put together hodgepodge variety of posts, on Instagram, it's at the Rob on the mic. Most active there, Rob on the mic on Twitter, because ironically 2 summers ago at VNL, my Instagram account got hacked.
Oh, so I actually remember that. I remember that.
Yeah. And my phone got ripped off too. It was like a double weekend in Shreveport. So,
yeah.
But yeah, you can definitely follow those areas. But I'm more than me. I try and get what news I get and catches my eye on there. But follow your teams first and foremost, and then I'll try and get that content up too, and even little snippets of this podcast right here. These 2 handsome gentlemen on screen with me, and Curtis hiding in the back creeping up.
Well, we got to get your name out there even more so that more people can see your backpack and run into you on the beach there
with their French
and make that connection with their. That's right. That's right. Well, Rob, thank you so much for spending the time to sit down here and talk with us about men's and beach college volleyball and the tournaments coming up. Appreciate it so much.
Hey, it's been an honor to be your guys' guest, both you, Stephen and Clarence. Appreciate just being able to take over an hour now with me, because I'm sure it's just psychobabble.
Love it. I love it.
The volley nerds are loving it. Don't worry.
We'll definitely have to have you back on to continue this conversation for future episodes. But thank you so much, and look forward to seeing you too at an event here soon, hopefully, so we can chat in person.
Yeah, I'm hoping as well. I'd love to see some USA indoor events come locally.
Yep. That's right. That's right.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
Yep. Thank you so much, Rob.
Thanks, Rob.
We'll talk to you later. Another great guest for episode 91 here on the podcast. But yeah, thank you so much to Rob for taking the time to sit down with us. He's running all over the place too. He's a very busy man in the MC announcing scene, especially with collegiate volleyball here coming to a close with the men's championship and the beach as well. But great to learn more from Rob too. I've run into Rob many times at events, both national team and collegiate, and a lot I didn't know about his background too. Loved hearing him talk about how he started off in baseball and then eventually found volleyball as well. I loved when his little side note there. I think I asked, what was the biggest obstacle transitioning from baseball to volleyball, and he said his disappointment from his parents. So that was funny. But he had a great great time playing baseball, and then also played volleyball, and just found his love and passion for the game there. And that's kind of what springboarded him into getting more involved with volleyball. From officiating to, I believe, and then into announcing and emceeing events. So yeah, great to learn more about his background. It just goes to show that like everyone has a different path, in volleyball. And it's so interesting to bring these guests on and hear more about that.
It's so unique. And it's just so unique too. And I also just love how he dissected just the breakdown of the men's tournament now. How we're up from 7 teams to now 8. And, got a first time HBCU in the mix as well. And he did a really good job of shouting out the athletes and really, mentioning the notable assets and situations going into each match. And, I just can't wait to see how that kind of either comes to life, or we're going to have to pop a phone and say, hey, what happened here? You said this and you were wrong. I'm scared. But yeah, no, I mean, he knows his stuff, and you can tell Rob's always been passionate about it, and just a genuinely great guy to have. And if you guys see him around Walter Pyramid as he's doing his thing on the microphone, say hi, say what's up to him. I'm sure he'll just love to spark up any conversation and just, get to know you as much as you want to get to know him, for sure.
Yeah. Excellent preview of the men's championship from Rob, and talked a lot about just the depth of talent among the programs and men's volleyball, and some good teams were left out, mentioning specifically Hawaii too, who had, some injury problems throughout the season. But that just shows, the growth of men's volleyball and how strong it's getting. And hopefully down the road, we added 1 team this year to the tournament, now up to 8 teams in the tournament in the bracket. But hopefully we continue to add more teams and just continue that growth of men's volleyball. It's starting, we're seeing it at the grassroots level into junior boys too. The tournaments are getting bigger, the teams are getting better, the athletes are getting better. And I mean, that's just the growth of the game right there that we're seeing. And even going back to our last guest, Jeff Jendrick, who, the resources that are available for these athletes to learn volleyball and get better at volleyball, and fine tuning those little details on the court. And Jeff is one of those resources for them, giving back to the community and helping those athletes out. But yeah, hopefully continue to see those teams, more teams in the tournament. Let's skip 12. Let's just throw 16 teams in there. Let's go.
I mean, yeah, I was gonna say something like 20, whenever. It's okay.
Yeah. But yeah, thanks again to Rob for taking the time to sit down with us and chat ahead of this tournament. And looking forward to watching both the men's NCAA championship this week and the women's beach as well. And both those, you can catch all the action on ESPN as well, which is great for the sport. But yeah, thank you again to Rob, and hopefully we'll see Rob down the road in person, and we can chat more.
All right. Think about that time to let them know what's coming up, what events we got coming up. Go ahead and kick us off.
Let's jump into it. I love just thinking back of that memory, our first ABCA and that being on my cup, my coffee cup. Good times. All right. Yeah. Now on to upcoming events. We have the Beach NTDP Accelerator, May 3rd in Gulf Shores, Alabama. USA Volleyball Beach Tour Gulf Coast Beach Fest National Qualifier, May 3rd through the 5th, also in Gulf Shores, Alabama. The Girls Indoor NTDP Spring Training Series, May 10th through the 13th in Bradenton, Florida. The Coach Observation Session Indoor Girls NTDP Training, May 11th through the 12th in Bradenton, Florida as well. The USA Volleyball Beach Tour at Chesapeake Wave Summer National Qualifier, May 11th through the 12th in Rehoboth Beach, Delaware. And the Boys U19 NORCECA Continental Championship, May 12th through the 20th in Puerto Rico. And we're getting a live update here. We have the Boys U19 National Team Training Block in Anaheim, California, May 3rd through the 11th. Good luck to everyone competing in those events. More details on all upcoming events can be found at our website at usavolleyball.org. It's definitely event season. We're deep in the swing of things right now.
All right, now on to the pro side of things. There are quite a few events here. In addition to that, we have the Beach Pro Tour Elite 16 Brasilia, May 1st through the 5th in, you guessed it, Brazil. 2024 NORCECA Vadero, May 2nd through the 6th in Cuba. After that, we have the NORCECA Punta Cana #1 in Punta Cana, Dominican Republic from May 7th through the 11th. We have the Futures Madrid men only from May 9th through the 12th in Madrid, Spain. After that, we have the Futures Pingtan in Pingtan, China from May 9th through the 12th. Now, following that one around the same time frame, we have the NORCECA Punta Cana #2 from May 11th through the 15th in Punta Cana, Dominican Republic. Good luck to all of those athletes competing. Go to some beautiful destinations there and safe travels while you travel to your destinations. Check out more information on usavolleyball.org for also for men's and women's national team updates from their pro leagues too. Remember, listeners, you guys can rate, review, share this podcast with your friends, families, teammates, because it really, 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 really helps us grow this podcast and reach new listeners, especially as we start to close in on that episode number 100. Also, remember to check out our video episodes on our website and on the YouTube. We thank you all for your continued support there. If you know of a club that should be featured, story you'd like us to share, topics you want to hear about, make sure you email us at usavolleyballshow.org and leave us feedback. Let us know how we're doing. And again, we want to hear about those topics to get them on our episode list. Remember, new episodes drop every other week. Until then, thank you for listening to another episode of USA Volleyball Show podcast. We are the official podcast of USA Volleyball. That's You're watching Disney Channel.
That was good. That's throwback.
This has been the USA Volleyball Show with Clarence Hughes and Stephen Munson. Produced by Curtis Ward. Our content producer is Laura Fawcett. Our marketing lead is Bree Jaycox. If you enjoyed this podcast, be sure to rate and review. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to the USA Volleyball Show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your podcasts.